camera's not focusing. Why is my camera not focusing? Alright, hang on. Why is this quality so poor? I'm sorry, y'all. I might have to reset up the stream. It's not like anybody's watching anyway. Yeah, you can't even read. Oh, there we go. There we go. Just had to hit focus. All right. Now we're cooking. Finish smoking this cigarette. See if anybody hangs around. From the old runehammer forums. Anybody that watches this later, hope you had a good day. I'm just sitting here enjoying a cup of coffee. Still waking up. Let's see. We'll wait till about the 5-minute mark. See if anybody shows up, and then we'll get this DM journal exposed. Couple things I want to say about this is my first experience keeping a DM journal or a journal of any sorts. And if you're a tabletop gamer or not, I recommend keeping one. Just being able to when you keep one, I mean, regular DMs carry almost their DM journal probably everywhere. If they're like I am, they always are ready to write down the ideas that spring up. But so I'd recommend keeping it. If you're keeping a journal, keep it with you. But not only was it great for tabletop games and playing ICRPG and stuff like that and keeping down my ideas for that, it also became a journal to write down my everyday experiences, my goals, work on starting to draw, all that type of stuff. So it was very therapeutic keeping it. Especially this past year, I went through quite a bit of mental health issues, if you want to call them that, dealing with my own head, like we all do as human beings. But I wanted to do this DM journal expose as a thank you to the Google Plus group that's now the Runehammer forums, the Shield Wall, as Hank likes to call them. Uh, and because those guys helped me out tremendously with their generosity, their kindness, their unbounded imaginations. Uh, I've been a part of quite a few online communities, and I can say without a doubt that the people that are in the Runehammer forums, the Shield Wall, uh, they're just some of the genuinely the nicest people I have ever met online. And I've never seen 1 ounce of negativity inside of that community. It is not toxic in any way, shape, or form. If you've got an idea and you want help, it does not take long to get 20 different answers from all the people on there. And every one of them is great. But anyway, we're past the 5-minute mark here. Let's have one more swig of coffee and get this started. Alright, so my DM journal I bought in November. I bought this in November of... Actually, I bought it December 2nd of 2017. I won a gift card at work for Amazon and decided to pick up my first good DM journal. Had an accident with my old one where I spilt soda all over it and left it in the car and it got hot, and I used these Frixion pens which are erasable under heat. So here in Florida I learned to not keep my journal in the car anymore, but I love them because I love drawing in pen, and there's all kinds of different colors and stuff for them. But lost my train of thought there. Yeah, I bought this DM journal, like I said, in December, and then I finished it a couple days before, I think, about a week before I hit 1 year of having it. It's very thick. There's 5 different sections in here of leaflets, and each one has 48 pages. I think it's like 200 something pages. A little bigger journal than I was wanting to do. I didn't want to spend a whole year on one journal, but it actually worked out perfect, and I think I'm going to try and keep doing that. This thing came with a string around it. I hated it, so I just threw a piece of Velcro on it. Got to throw my ICRPG logos on it, and then my little cat's just flicking people off. Stay the fuck out of here. This is mine. And then my favorite part about ICRPG, warp shell. Had to flaunt that on the back. With, of course, Runehammer's glyph. Alright, let's crack this baby open. First page, you know it. The oath. I will let the torrent flow. I will remember everything. I will build a world from their actions. I will be an architect. I will be poetic. I will be energetic. I will lift them up and vanish. I will be a beacon of camaraderie. I will be a terror to behold. Signed, Chris Kaufman. Alright. You always gotta, even on my DM journal, I'm gonna do the same thing. I want to put the oath at the beginning of everything, because Hank's little thing here, I like to read it to myself before I play the games, and it gives me a little boost of confidence for some reason, and the reminder of the DM's role in bringing all these people together, all your friends together, to have a good night of gameplay. Alright, for me, Warp Shell is my favorite part of ICRPG. I love sci-fi. I love fantasy stuff, but for ideas for me to explode for being a DM, I work much better in the sci-fi. So Warp Shell, when it came out, was just a supernova of ideas, if you will. And then at the time, I was trying to keep these things in mind. These are my things to keep in mind. Your regular timers, threats, the treats. You know those if you're playing ICRPG. And the logs, of course, location, obstacle, and goal. That's still a huge factor in coming up with my nights of gameplay. Alright, let's see, I got a reading list here from some books that I seen coming through work that I eventually want to get to reading. Crossed a few off the list, but a lot more to go, of course. And then this right here was a timeline of the games that we had played so far. I'm not going to get into all that too much. I'll explain a little bit more later. But the first night of gameplay, the monoliths, pirates and bandits, or pirates and boarworms. Oh my! That night was my first night running ICRPG, and I literally had one sentence written down, or like 3 words. I think I had that. I had monoliths, pirates, and boarworms, and I improvised the campaign off of that using the ICRPG mechanics, and that led to the rest of my campaign. That in itself speaks volumes for the system. That ended up running Last Flight of the Red Sword. Then a few of my players started getting the itch to run games, so these couple were ran by some of my players, and then Gaia's Gone. That is still probably my favorite game I've ever ran. I brought a new group of players into it, and they fell in love with ICRPG and the whole tabletop gaming, and just the events that unfolded on that night. It's one of them games that none of us ever forget, and we still talk about. But yeah, list goes on and stuff. Let's keep this rolling. Let's see. I did a Ragnarok like Hank was doing. Cleared a lot of stuff off. Some goals were not met, but you know what? Failures are just another chance to try again, as I see it. But like Hank, I put little axioms down here to remind myself before you give up. Like, why did you start? You will never quit. You have a family to support. Just little things. I'm also in a band, so this was stuff from our set list, trying to come up with for playing shows, and then trying to get recording stuff like that. Places around here. This is when I started coming up with a lot of the way our campaign was rolling at the time. I started coming up with these 3 casters that made these 3 boxes that had each had its own power, and they kind of trapped the Devourer inside of it. And it's actually what created the Devourer in the first place. One of the 3 casters. But I pretty much, when I go about setting up my stuff in here, you'll see it a lot through. I'll write like a big long paragraph, and that's pretty much it. And that's just what I've got in my head about what I want, like what I'm envisioning for the encounter and the scenario. And then I'll start writing bullet points of just the characters themselves, and then the way the campaign's gonna play out. But my stuff is so scatterbrained, so I'll have some on some pages, some on another. Alright, let's see. This is when I was just flipping through the warp shell, or all the loot tables actually in the core book, and I was just these were ones that I wanted to specifically hand out myself. This is a list of names for NPCs, planets, cities, all that type of stuff, because I got so mad one night that we were playing a game that I was running, and I had the mayor, and the mayor did not have a name, and he ended up sacrificing himself, and it killed me that he was like such a big like part of that night of gameplay, and I just didn't have a name for him, and the players like even asked me for one, and the guy ended up coming up with something that night. I forget what it was off the top of my head, but that like next night I was like, I am writing down a list of all names just so that I can go back and refer to, and this is something that I'll do more often. And a lot of these are just places, some of these are places from geological features on Mars, from books I've read, characters, what else is in here? shoot, I got stuff from Pokemon, Johto and Kanto regions. You know what I mean? Just something to have quick on the top of the mind. But anyway, let's keep going here. This was an overview I did for myself of what our campaign had consisted of. Just so I could remember the events. I like going back and trying to remember what happened that night, so that I can always keep the players like reinformed of the events and stuff. But you see how I did a few little bullet points for each night of gameplay, like the major events that took place, and then I can always refer back to this to just reread what happened on those if somebody's got questions. Let's see. Same thing. This is I'll write usually a couple nights and try and after the night of gameplay and try and recall as much as possible and almost write it like I would be writing a short story. There. See that whole nother page. Just events unfolding. This is when I came up with my ultimate boss, Timu the Technomancer, which Matt Shaker from the part of the Shield Wall. He's one of the leaders of the Shield Wall, I would say. He's always fun to play with. The stuff he comes up with is brilliant. He came up with the Technomancer for, man, what was the name of his Sea of Rust, I want to call it, maybe? I think it was inside of that, one of his little small releases he did. But the mechanics were perfect for what I wanted for the boss, but I actually gave this dude, you can see it, he had 20 hearts. He had 200 hit points. And my guys had, usually two, I think one character had 3 heartstones by the time they fought this guy, but it was definitely a challenge, but they overcame it. But that's just his list of moves and stuff like that. Let's see. This was, let's see. Usually the night of gameplay, I'll put down a quick list of bullet points for what I need to remember, and then, of course, like every DM, tracking hit points, stuff like that, doing random drawings. Anu and the Box of Veritas, this was one of the other spellcasters. I actually ended up never running this campaign. I ended up morphing her story into a completely different planet. But it would have been interesting to run this instead of what I ended up going with, because it would have probably took this story in a whole different direction. But it's this was a lot more focused around that I can't remember, is it the Tree of Death or something like that inside the core book? It's one of the monsters in the world, or not worlds, but core book that has the it's just a tree that has crazy magical powers. Let's see. Middle of the first section. This was the Splinter Cell of Monks. This was a night of gameplay that one of my players ran when he started getting super into it. But super fun night of gameplay. Let's see. I always like to do these little pages of things to think about on my for my games and other stuff I'm working on. I do writing. I'm not an author. I'm a author for myself, basically. I like to just do writing, so I'll write little books and stuff, but I like writing them inside of Warp Shell, so I'll think about those like types of things too. One of the things here was I was trying to explain to a friend about ICRPG and stuff, and he's got kids, and he always listens to my stories about the games, but he said he would like to play, but he wants to try it with his kids, so he asked me if I could come up with a Five Nights at Freddy's kind of ICRPG setup that would be like kid friendly for him. I still have yet to do it. I would like to, because I still want to get him into it. This other thing over here, I went on a trip to the Swanee River to a campground that some friends of mine owned, and I ended up just sketching out the layout uh, of the campground itself with all the buildings and the way the hills were set up and stuff. And this ended up becoming a map that I used later in the encounter. So I'll do that a lot at places I'm at that I like. I'll try and sketch them out in my journal for future maps. Let's see, this is just a list of huge random encounters that kind of had nothing to do with any of the campaigns I was running. These were just like kind of one-shots. I've not ran any of these yet or tried to put any mechanics or anything like that to them. Again, they're just ideas that I had to jot down real quick. Let's see. My buddy, he was getting super. One of my other players, he was getting super into world building, and he's building this huge world. And his like campaign he was running is one of those ones that's going to run like 6 months to a year, and it's all based on this one planet. He felt so in over his head being a new DM, so he was asking me for tips and stuff, and he kind of wanted me to co-DM with him. He was going to be like the descriptive guy, and I was just going to be back there making sure he was running the mechanics like correctly. But I think he could do it himself. He didn't need me at all. But we've still yet to run it. A lot of our other players had little one shots that they wanted to get out and stuff, and he never fully fleshed this out. He's still working on it and stuff, so hopefully we'll get a chance to run that this year. Oh man, the Karakian Race of Peace. This is something that I want to get typed up so bad for the Google Plus community, or I keep saying that's gone now. I want to get this typed up for the runehammer forum community. My players say this was the funnest night of gameplay that they've had. They want to make it like an annual thing to where, and this was just kind of a race that I came up with, and I based it off of this. It's like 2 or 3,000 year old, I want to say Sumerian game called the Game of Ur. And here, hang on one second. Let me pull out this other journal real quick, because I started the idea in my journal that got ruined. There we go. There we go. So you can almost see the same thing copied over here, but this small board right here, this is the Game of Ur. So the whole thing is there's 2 players, they move in to these sides, they have to make their way down their lanes, come, and then they battle down the middle lane, make their way out, and they have to exit out on their lane. You have 4 pieces, and then landing on pieces send you back to certain spots, and this spot right here is like a safe zone. Nobody can land on you while you're there and knock that out. But basically what I did is took those rules and just expanded the board, as you can see here, and just gave it so that it became what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lanes. So that allowed for 4 players to battle it out on this board. But they're fun mechanics and stuff like that. I came up with a whole reason. They had just committed, or not committed, had a huge major event where they saved a whole planet and stuff, and I think freed some people. But they were brought in by the king to celebrate and participate in this race, and to be invited to this race was a like honor in itself. The winner got like a free drinks in any bar in the system, a house on any moon in Karak of their choosing, and some type of like huge money reward, which they ended up buying a bar with. But let's see, this is True Sailing's Dead. This is a story I've been working on for a book. Not ICRPG related, but I kind of want to start making it. Actually, yeah, this is the start of me trying to meld it in to ICRPG, bringing in psychers and stuff. Let's see, interesting tabletop games that I would see come through work that I want to try. Have yet to buy a single one because I'm always broke. Let's see, quick ideas. Yeah, this was quick ideas for the second box encounter. I forget where that map came from. I think it was from the Google Plus community, I want to say, and I copied it over, but have never used it yet. I just like the way it looked. These were weapons that I started coming up with when GM Magnus from the Shield Wall, another great guy, started wanting to bring in Final Fantasy VII, my favorite video game RPG of all time, and bringing in materia. So I started coming up with, of course, the Buster Sword and Heaven's Cloud and the Hard Edge and then just all kind of. I was trying to come up with other weapons and stuff, but and fitting materia into them using his rule set. Let's see. This was the second box encounter. Hex World of Pharaon. This was where that map came from the Swanee River. That was one of Hank's drawings of a warp shell for Tortured Souls, which I still want to run so bad. I want to run that. And that's me again, just trying to practice drawing. Those are encounters I want to DM. Ton more loot ideas. Let's see, a song the band started working on over here. Alan Watts notes, Philosopher that I was listening to for a little bit. Viking Death Squad. This is the Thor encounter using Hank's maps. Wrote down some of the story dice encounters that were coming up on the Google Plus group a while back. Ran one of them. They were super fun. I still want to get us a couple sets of those story dice. And then this was me starting to find Fighting Fantasy, which are books that are choose your own adventure books and stuff. And that's me playing it. I died. Let's see, more loot. Some of these were just like pointless things. A bag of Cheetos on the floor. Let's see, they're starting to learn how to craft dungeon stackers for my stuff. More of those Fighting Fantasy books. Let's see. This was everything I needed for that to set up for the encounter. Getting my needed design maps. Info I still needed to answer for myself. Notes on crafting with the foam. Stuff I wanted to craft. Let's see. Splinter Cell of Monks Part 2. So that was the finish up night, I think, of the player's game, one of my player's games from earlier. Let's see, that was the intro I wrote up for the second box encounter. What is this stuff? Oh, this was that night of gameplay, and we had my buddy got out of the military, and I was tracking their player names. Let's see. It's the night of game. So that's after the night of gameplay. So this was the events and what I thought might happen next. See, ended up skipping my whole encounter that I was coming up with for the third box, and that led to straight the final boss fight with Timo the Technomancer, made by Matt Shaker's Technomancer thing I was talking about earlier, the guy with 200 hit points. I love the game No Man's Sky, so this is where a lot of my encounters based around it, but I use a lot of the lore from it in my games. More axioms to like Hank does, just to keep myself going. You make yourself miserable, you make yourself strong. Either way, the amount of work is the same. We play non-bliss in order to experience bliss. That's an Alan Watts quote. Jason Silva, this one helped me a lot. I am not who I think I am. I am not who you think I am. I am who I think you think I am. My buddy Chris Peterson, just always in the back of my mind, telling me don't be a bitch. And then, are you a man? Simon from a video game channel I watch. Let's see. Things to work on. Again, stuff in my daily life as well as DMing. Stuff for the band, downloading recording programs and whatnot. This was playing Super Fight with fun tabletop game, and that gave me a monster for idea for ICRPG. A bunch of little short stories idea. I came up with an alchemist class here that I'm wanting to run. It's my next character I come up with. I'll leave that there for a second if you can understand my handwriting. Pause the video, see kind of what I was getting after. There's me setting up the final map for the Temu encounter, the final boss fight. Coming up with enemies for No Man's Sky and trying to come up with races, new races that are in the game as well. The Viking, the Korvax, the Gek, the Travelers. This is me just writing a backstory for my character, Gaia3435. I play. He's my favorite character. I played him in a couple Matchsakers games. He's my main character in whatchamacallit, in our games at home and stuff. I never really finished it. I'll probably maybe go back one day and do it. Let's see. There's Temu. There was just quick stats for me to know. His quotes, what stuff I wanted him to say during the battle as he was yelling at them. Let's see. Stuff from when I ran Planet Killer. That was a great night of gameplay. One of Hank's things. Let's see. This is notes on Ayn Rand and her objectivism philosophy. I was reading up on that. She talks about rational morality. Biggest question I had when going over this stuff is, what is rational morality to me? But let's not get philosophical here. I was trying to get more descriptive words to be a better DM. That list fell short. Let's see. Taking notes on Hank's RPG mainframe, which was not even needed. His stuff is so simple to understand that it just sticks in your brain. This is the summary from the boss fight after they killed Temu. Let's see, that's some drawings. These ended up becoming my brother's for my character 3435, a mecha. It's 1123, and that's 5813. They're just I don't know, not the best drawings, but I was trying to do tips from one of Hank's drawing mecha videos. As the events continued for Temu the God of Devouring, that happened. Let's see, this is me running Whisper. This was one of Matt Shaker's games. I got my little stats down here where I was tracking my hit points, all my equipment, stuff that was happening, tracking all my notes. That's just Piddle the Prairie Dog. Again, just practicing drawing. I think that's one of Hank's drawings from maybe the Ghost Mountain book, World's book. Let's see. Oh man, that was fun. Oh yeah, Whispered. Oh yeah, that's when I died and stuff, and freaking got brought back to life, and freaking we ended up losing Remus completely, and then Quintus was killed, or so we thought. Yeah, man, I'd love to pick that back up from Matt Shaker. That was a fun game. This is Tortured Souls notes from Worlds, which still yet to run. Drawn more of Hank's card art. This is just a list of all the players and different characters that have been in our game so far. I just wanted to see what that was about. There it is. That's part 2 of Alfheim Legends, The Swordwind from Matt Shaker. And then part 3 as well. No Man's Sky, Atlas Rises ideas. There was the second part of Planet Killer. All the mechanics, the events that unfolded. See, and I tied all this stuff into my campaign. Like, they went back in time to go fight those. Alright, I'm not going to leave that there. That's the middle of my DM journal. At the middle of my DM journal, I'm going to, of every DM journal that I have, I'm going to write a letter to my wife, and that's personal. That's for her to read. But, I just thought it was a good sentiment, and, head, shoulders, knees, and toes, nothing happens to me. Spectacles, testicles, wallet, and watch. These are great things, I feel, to leave behind for family members to go back and read. I lost my mom 5 years ago, and there was nothing like this, and there's not even much of her handwriting around besides notes she took for work and stuff, but I just want to leave something behind, I guess, and this is a great way to do it. Anyway, let's see, this was more for, I was starting to call the next part of the campaign Atlas Rises. This is when more of the No Man's Sky universe was being revealed, that they were inside of it. This was True Sailing's Dead. More notes on that for the book. Yep, character notes. This is me coming up with ships. I'm fascinated with light sails, using the chunks method. Then I started getting into haikus and stuff, and another random to-do list, what I needed to work on. Yeah, these were short little, just, I don't know, yeah, just poems, I guess you'd say, that I started writing one day. This is a full script from Jason Silva, and Fall in Love or Die Trying. It's one of his speeches. It's very beautiful. I like to read it every once in a while for put myself in a positive mood. But more haikus. Let's see, these two were about, these were actually about D&D, or ICRPG. Imagination, adventure through space and time by a crew of friends. Friends around a table of love and joy. Let's tell some stories. This was the start of coming up with my Pokemon conversion, which still I'm not good at PDFs and coming up with doing that stuff, and I want to get it out for the Google Plus group. It just, for now, it remains in my DM journal, but it's just another setting and stuff. This is campaign ideas, moves, starter Pokemon that you'd come up with, or that you choose from the beginning. Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows. This is an internet channel. This guy comes up with words that are he uses to describe feelings that are hard for us to articulate. And it's a very good series, and I come up with a lot of names and stuff, use character names and stuff like that. More loot, little Pikachu drawing. See, I went to karaoke one night. That was songs I was singing and couldn't sing because the DJ didn't have them. See, we started doing Shadows in the Dark. That's Chris Hatley. That was not my main group. That was just a side campaign night. This is coming up with a encounter for the True Sailing's Dead. I started trying to think that if I could get my players to write it as, or play in it, then it would push me to write the story more, which we've still yet to start playing. Let's see, True Sailing's Dead, Seed of Doom. I think this is where we left off last time I DM'd, actually. This was one of Hank's maps, and I ended up... his was kind of one of those completely cutaway maps that looks like a Metroid map, if you want to say. But it's hard for me to think like that, and sometimes it isn't. So this map is a little bit of just like your regular top-down map, and then parts of it are like this, or Hank's like Metroid style thing that I kept. But, let's see. That's when we ran Sea of Doom, all my tracking hit points and stuff about their new characters. The summary from what happened. Those are glyphs for getting around planets in No Man's Sky. Little No Man's Sky writings. This was a movie I watched. I thought it would make a great encounter called Tau. It was on Netflix. Started writing down random stuff I heard people say at work, in the bar, stuff like that. I thought it just made for great NPC dialogue. Let's see, that's me teaching myself to sing Italian opera. The first Italian opera song I learned. Drawing out maps. I drew the entire warp shell map by hand just because I figured, why the hell not? Because I just wanted to take up space in my DM journal. And then this is our solar system, just really crappy. Let's see, Adrift, another story idea I started coming up with. Pathfinder City, that started progression in my True Sailing's Dead book. More glyphs, the glyph decoder for No Man's Sky. Xanthi, that's a game I played in another one of Matt Shaker's games. Reign of Ice. I started actually taking notes on how Matt was laying out his games, because they're just so much fun, so I was writing down those tips. Let's see, that's prep for work. I was going for an interview. My buddy's ex used to randomly give us Backstreet Boys stickers and hide them in our house and leave them in random bathrooms like at McDonald's and stuff, and she snuck one into my DM journal one night when we were at the bar. Let's see, Story of Gaia. This is an old book I've been working on. That was just stuff that fell short. More No Man's Sky lore and drawing a Sentinel. More stuff from work. Things I needed to work on again. Little random drawings from No Man's Sky. More No Man's Sky story elements. Yeah, see, I just started getting into the game at this point. This is when our group wasn't getting so much together. Two drawings I'm pretty proud of, both inspired by Hank and his runes, I guess you'd call them. These were things I wanted to build in No Man's Sky. Here, finally, was the night we ran Seed of Doom Part 2, which is still yet to be finished. Random blurb of writing. Playing some Ironheart with my buddy. Stuff on my philosophy. More ideas for True Sailing's Dead to progress. More ideas for that Adrift, and drawing a really crappy light sail. This is when I started trying to think. I wanted to convert Dead and Thay from what's the name of it? Tales from the Yawning Portal. It's one of the old school encounters from D&D. I wanted to try and convert it to Warp Shell, but that was just that would have been so daunting. That's somebody telling me about a crazy bass player and stuff, and guitar player at work I needed to check out. A tree for crafting in No Man's Sky. More No Man's Sky lore. From the Ashes. This was a temple. Oh no, not a temple. Yeah, that was a temple right there. But this was one of our girl players in our group, one she ran. More stuff for No Man's Sky, sketching out a battle arena, which I ended up making, and I might turn into a map for ICRPG as well. Me wanting to write more No Man's Sky fan fiction. Here I had a flower that I kept from the Swanee River, and I had it for pretty much until the week before I finally finished the journal. I know I lost it, but you can kind of see the pollen marks from it being in there. That kind of pissed me off, but I want to do that and try and keep just a pressed flower from one of my nature walks in all my journals. This was preparing for the Mercury Dale, which I want to run as a one-shot. Some Blood and Snow ideas. More Italian opera I was learning. This is, I've started learning Japanese, so we're getting towards the end here. Those were just cool short films I was doing, random sketches of a tree. I can't really show that. Let's see. More Japanese. More No Man's Sky fan fiction. No Man's Sky drawing. Sitting before the Atlas. More karaoke nights. Another scene that I came up with for True Sailing's Dead. And there we are. We're at the end pretty much. These parts I want to read, and then I'm going to sign off. These are open letters to Hanker Inferno, and also to the Runehammer forum. So here we go. Dear Hanker Inferno, I write this because I feel the only way to express these feelings sincerely is by putting ink to paper and letting it flow. One of the many things I've learned from you, not only in our shared hobby, but our shared lives as humans, brothers, and sisters. There's no amount of thanks I can give for the unmeasurable inspiration you have provided for me. ICRPG started out as a game for me, but has grown to feel like a family of kindred spirits you helped shepherd together. The community you forged is the thing I am most grateful for, but I'll get to that. Your hard work and passion is something I aspire for. This year, I took on your Ragnarok challenge. Some things I've triumphed, others I still struggle, but have learned from you to keep pushing on. There's a shield wall protecting me. Thank you from the deepest bottom of my heart. Strength, honor, and love. And then this one is for the Runehammer community, the shield wall. To my fellow lumpy-headed weirdos, first, thank each and every one of you for being a friend. This community is one thing I am proud to be a part of and have watched grow from its primordial days. Your infinite combined imagination leaves me in awe. Your respect, compassion, and love for one another is humbling. Life throws much stress on us, and at the most unexpected times. This past year has been exceptionally rough on me, and I knew I could always turn to you, amazing group of minds, for support and inspiration. To Matt Shaker, Magnus E., Alex Alvarez, Jason Scranton, Victor Diaz, DM Grizzly, Joe G., Troy Vinton, and all the other amazing people I've met, thank you. An idea of each of yours is in this journal somewhere, and for that, I owe you my gratitude, strength, honor, and love. And that's when I finished it. 12/2/18. And I finished it out with some quotes. Imagination will often carry us to worlds that never were, but without it, we go nowhere. The vastness is only bearable through love. Carl Sagan. Imagination is therapy. Awe is therapy. Jason Silva. I'm alive. I carry on for you, Mom. Dedicated to Diana Kaufman. Caring wife, loving mother, and best friend. And that's every page of my DM journal from 2018. Now, I move on to this guy, which is completely blank. But anyway, it's been about an hour, so let's go ahead and sign this off, guys. Pull this out. Flip the camera. if you watch this, and to all of the people in the Runehammer forum group, the Shield Wall, to Hank, thank you. Strength, honor, love, ICRPG.